Hello, this is Clint Wilson. I'm sure you already know that. Yes, I'm driving down the road right now. But I thought, what a great time to sit back and kind of tell you a little bit about me. This is my testimony, and I hope that it can share some insight about me and my journey in Christianity. I was born in the Midwest, Zanesville, Ohio to be exact, back in '74. I didn't come from, a poor family or a rich family. We were middle class, maybe slightly higher. I'm not sure. Finances were, discussed with me, obviously, since I was a child. A typical Midwestern family. I played sports, went to school. I excelled at sports in school early on. Our family did not go to church. Later on in life, probably about, I think it was 7th grade, I'm not sure, things started changing for me. I'm not sure what happened, why, but this is shortly after my mom had cancer and battled with cancer, and she came through that originally okay. So I got where I didn't want to go to school anymore. I didn't want to do anything. All I wanted to do was just kind of nothing, hang out with friends, and I started drinking a little bit, smoking some pot, but nothing major at that time. Well, I liked to fight a lot back then. I'd get into fights all the time, and I ended up going to juvenile detention center for 3 days, on a couple occasions, and end up in court and everything. Well, I finally was put on probation until I was 18 for fighting and truancy. So at that point, I had to walk the straight and narrow line. And so I did all right. I did what I had to get by. I didn't excel anymore, which is quite a shame because I had the potential to excel at everything I did. So when I was 16, we ended up moving from Zanesville, Ohio to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And down in Tuscaloosa, shortly after we got there, my mom got sick again with cancer, diagnosed. And the prognosis wasn't good. I don't know time frames, I don't remember. But she was put on hospice, and I didn't go back to school. At 16 years old, when we moved to Alabama, I was released from my probation at that time. So I wasn't on probation anymore, and I didn't go, have to do anything. So I quit school, didn't go back. I just kind of did my own thing. I started, drinking more and things like that. Well, my mom passed away finally. And I was 16 at that time, so it wasn't very long after we moved to Alabama that she passed away. I think maybe 6 months. And that was kind of a tipping point. I didn't get along with my dad. Not his fault. He was trying to do right and, make me do right, and I just wouldn't listen. I was very rebellious. So I ended up moving out and moved in with, a girl at one time, and I was partying all the time and ended up joining a street gang called the Disciples, which is part of Folk Nation. Doing more drugs, got involved in all kinds of things. I mean, I could tell stories all day long of what things I've done and that I'm not proud of. But all these things shaped me to who I am now. But there was one thing missing in all this. I mean, I had everything. I had, girls. I had friends. I was, doing what I wanted. But I had no peace. And I couldn't figure it out. My peace came in the form of pills. And whatever else I could get my hands on. Well, it was March 1st, 1993. I decided I was going to find the ultimate peace. And in that ultimate peace was going to be me taking my own life. So I overdosed. The day's kind of sketchy. I remember my best friend getting me to the hospital. Don't know how he knew. I don't recall. But next thing I really remember is, it was a couple of days later, maybe next day, 3 days, I don't recall. I was in a hotel room. I was in the hospital room, and I was just so sick. I kept vomiting and vomiting and vomiting, and I couldn't quit vomiting, and I was freezing and dry heaves, and the whole 9 yards. It was DTs. I was detoxing. I was going through withdrawal. I ended up being in the hospital for, I think it was 33 days. This was a psychiatric ward / drug addict ward. I went through, I had to go see a therapist, every day, or a psychiatrist. And he had a million reasons why I was acting out, and I don't know. I was listening to him, but I wasn't buying it. It was all, I had a chemical misbalance. It was due to the fact that my mom died. It was no. What it was that caused me to act out was because I never knew true peace. Well, during that period of time, another friend of mine was, kept witnessing to me and everything, and I ended up finding Christ. So when I got out of the hospital, once again, my memory is not that good, so time frames and stuff don't quite line up sometimes for me. But I got out of the hospital, and I know what I believe I went to Ohio for a while first. Yes, I went up to Ohio just to get away from the crowd and everything, to try to get a new beginning. That's when I got my EMT license and doing pretty decent, doing well. I decided I want to go back to Alabama, so I moved back down there. And my friend that he'd witnessed to me and everything, and helped lead me to Christ, introduced me to his pastor, Pastor Tom Vaughn, pastor at Trinity Baptist Church in Tuscaloosa. Well, I kind of became what's the word I'm looking for? A protege to Pastor Tom. I was with him just about every day. I didn't have a job, so he would pick me up, and I'd go with him, and we'd go do all kinds of, I would go visiting with him. We'd go to the retirement community and have a service. I did all kinds of everything with him. I went to the hospital visitations. I'd be at the church while he's preparing his sermon. I'd be doing my own stuff. I became the youth leader for Trinity. We built the youth group up fairly decent size. There was a falling out in the church. Basically, I'll be blunt. I mean, what it boiled down to, this was an older Southern Baptist church in the heart of Alabama, and some of the youth group. This is my opinion. Some of the youth, I'm not even going to do that because it's an opinion. So, anyways, there was a falling out. I ended up leaving that church and I moved up to West Blockton shortly after that, and met my wife a short time later. And then we started attending Smith Hill Baptist Church together. At Smith Hill, let's go back real quick to when I was at Trinity. I did have an occasion a couple times to preach there. They were allowing me to do some pulpit fill, and I was also heavily involved with a ministry called From Drugs to the Cross. And I would go to revivals and stuff like that and speak, share my testimony. A little bit, more in depth than this, but same thing. So now we're at Smith Hill, another Southern Baptist church. Things are doing great. Tulin Goodwin, who was the associate pastor, who was also a second father figure to me next to my dad. Me and my dad are pretty much best friends by now, and still continue to be. Pastor Lawley was the senior pastor. I took over the adult Sunday school class for Tulin, and I believe, it was a great opportunity for me. I grew a lot spiritually there. I was asked to be a deacon, and I've had a couple occasions to do pulpit fill there as well. Well, we ended up moving to Indiana, just looking for a place to go where it had a better economy, to be honest. Beth and I were both in dead-end jobs, not going nowhere, and we just needed a better place to raise our kids. A lot of violence down in West Blockton, a lot of drugs, moonshiners, bootleggers. I mean, it was a really bad area. So we came up to visit some family here around North Manchester, and literally went home, put all our faith in God, packed everything up, and 3 weeks later moved to Indiana. So we up here, we kind of didn't go to church for a while because we couldn't find a Southern Baptist church, and I was so bent on having to be a Southern Baptist. During this period of time, I enrolled and got my biblical studies degree, and then we started attending we attended a few different churches, trying to seek out one that we felt comfortable in and that matched doctrinally what we believed. And then we settled in at one church. I'm not going to say the church name here, but we felt good there for a while, and I ended up being on the church board council, and I was head of the men's fellowship, and things were going good. I was set aside, which is beginning parts of becoming a pastor in that denomination, and I just felt called away from there. I mean, it wasn't nothing big. I felt a calling, like I was called somewhere else. I didn't understand it, didn't know why. I was heavily involved at that time in Brethren Way of Christ. I was at one of the Brethren Way meetings, and during one of the services, anointing service, I walked up to one of the pastors, and I don't remember which pastor it was. I wish I did, but I do remember it was Ed, Pastor Ed. Anyways, he said, "What can I pray with you about?" And I said, I just need to know my direction. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, where I'm supposed to go. So we prayed, and I was anointed, and I knelt down there at the altar and started praying some more. And a close friend of mine came up and knelt down beside me and prayed with me. So all of a sudden I felt this sense of, I don't understand the sense, I just felt this sense of, yes, I am called to a different church, but I yet wasn't sure where. So then next Sunday, that was in October, the next Sunday I attended where I felt I was being called. I said in that service, and no, I did not feel it at all. It was, I started questioning God, are you really calling me away to a different church? I don't get it. So I ended up going out to Eel River a couple Sundays later, and from the moment I stepped in that door and sat in the pew, a calmness came over me again, a peace. And I was like, this is where I belong. So I've been there now for over 2 years, and I remember at the time, myself, the pastor's wife, we had a couple other leaders that we met up with down in Anderson. We took a group of youth to Acquire the Fire, and we standing in the parking lot of Ball State having pizza, and the pastor's wife looked at me and said, "I know why you was called to our church. He was called to help build it up." I still don't believe that, but that stuck with me, and it really, yeah. So short time later, the pastor and I started talking about me becoming a pastor within the church, and going down that road, that journey in the Church of the Brethren. And then it did finally come. When he announced his departure from the church and got me moved to California, we kind of expedited it because I really wanted him to be on that journey in the beginning with me, because he was so influential with me. And the rest is kind of history. That's how I got to where I am now. It was all from God's grace. God's grace saved me back in '93 from dying. God's grace delivered me from the drugs, the alcohol, the addictions. And without God's grace, I would be nothing. And I truly have ultimate peace knowing that one day, when it is my time, I will be going to heaven. I will see my mom again, my grandma, grandpa, my, everybody. And I have a great family that I love. I've been married now, next month, 20 years, 3 kids, grandchild. Life couldn't be better. And that's just a little bit about me. And thank you for listening and allowing me to do this while I'm driving down the road to help me pass the time. God bless and go in peace.